Baby, why y'all wet?
Welcome to episode 2 of Eminem Movie Meetings. Joined again with Ainsley. And we're stoked to talk about Shutter Island. Before we start talking about Shutter Island, though, Ainsley, you said busy with life. Give me a little life update. What's going on?
Still applying to jobs, which
Ditto.
is fun, taking up a lot of time. Um, yeah, so doing that and just trying to spend as much time with family as I can. So I feel like my days off are not my days off. But what about you? What have you been up to?
Applying for a lot of jobs. Ugh. Taking care of that little kitten. Um, yeah, responding to a lot of rejection emails with thank you for letting me know. What can I do better in the future? Um, and then yeah, just hanging out with family. I've been playing a lot of NCAA football. Sorry. Yeah, NCAA football. No, I think they dropped it. I think it's college football 25. I don't know. I forget what they switched it to. Been super fun with that. And then yeah, so many cover letters of so many different varieties. It's ridiculous. Ow, my cat's on my back. Ow, ow. What's up? What's up, bud? What's up?
My gosh.
He's also a movie fan. Did not watch Shutter Island though, so we can't get his opinions on the film. 2010 Shutter Island, Martin Scorsese, and like the most like Oscar-led cast in the world, I think. It's like a
Yeah.
fantastic group of like getting even like ancillary characters where it was star-studded. I loved it. I've seen it a whole host of times, but I will never forget being in like a movie theater and seeing like the end of the second act happening and my brain starting to piece things together of like this something's wrong. I think Leo is actually a patient, like trying to put it all together. And then like that reveal, spoilers for a 2010 movie. Um, it's just like one of the best I've ever seen. What are your general thoughts before we like dive a little deeper?
Yeah, I watched this for the first time in March of this year. I'm just looking
Oh,
at
nice.
my letterbox of it because I was like, I remember watching it this spring. Um, and I watched it with four or three of my really close friends, and we were trying to like piece stuff together. One's a poli sci major, one of us is a cinema studies major, and then there are two that are in SOJC. And so if you could imagine the chaos that our minds were going through, like my journalism background, trying to like decode certain things and like mix with the poli sci and the cinema like there were so many things going on. But yeah, I cannot imagine seeing it in theaters. What did you think?
That was so much fun. That was back when we were like seeing everything that came out, and yeah, it was just one of those movies that you like have faith is gonna be good because who the director is, and then like who the leads are. Obviously, it's like destined to be pretty good. Um, Scorsese's great. I really loved Casino as a kid, which sounds funny. But that movie was like instrumental in me loving film. I love um his use of freeze frame in his movies is like second to none. And there were some really good shots of Michelle Williams, I believe her name is, which is Leo's wife in the movie, where they're like freeze framed and then foreshadowing into the water and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really cool on the big screen. Even cooler watching it at home once like the DVD release came out and being able to enjoy um like finding the second watch and seeing like the closer details of how the cast did and what they didn't do and what they did do intentionally. Yeah, it was yeah, one of those that is always going to be remembered from the film, but also like in the theater, but also one that is like good to watch anytime, anywhere. Were you
Definitely.
all when you were watching it like detectives, like trying to deduce what was happening and like from different backgrounds putting it together.
Yeah, and we were just watching it at my friend's house, but kind of like you were saying that it's good to watch anywhere, not just in the theater. It was just like on a regular TV, and we were just on their sofa trying to like decode everything. And I remember one of my friends just kept asking, like, what's going on? Like, no, like this has to be happening. I'm like, none of us have seen this movie. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen. But I think like we knew something was up, we just didn't know quite what it was. And then the ending, I don't think any of us really saw coming, but we saw like bits and pieces of like, okay, this is strange. Like maybe we don't know exactly what's going on. Um, I would say though, like the ending took me for surprise
Yeah.
for sure, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say like one of the first things on a second watch, and like every time I watch it now, that like catches me off the like right off the bat is meeting your partner as like a U.S. Marshal for the first time on a ferry, as if you didn't both jump on the ferry together, which is like one of the first early signs. And the movie does like such a great job of like just like moving past that so quick of Mark Ruffalo and Leo meeting, being like, oh, we're partners. Leo having like no personal possessions and then being like sick on the water was like one of the first like ink link signs that they give you that you don't really notice until the second watch. And then like getting off the boat and actually getting onto the island and having all the guards being like super like mean looking and authoritative. And it's supposed to, the first watch, like lead you to think, they're doing their job. They have something to hide, maybe. They're just trying to be um like protective of their island, but really it is them like keeping a close eye on this patient who's highly violent from their records. So it's just like one of those movies where the closer you pay attention, the more details you're finding. There's even like a scene in the middle of the movie where the guards are like telling the patients to stop staring at him. But it in the moment, the first viewing, it's like, oh man, there's like something mysterious going on. Second viewing and beyond, it's like, oh no, it's all because they're doing this ploy and they're putting on a show and they have inmates that are in on it. Um, from the start of the movie, what was your like first takeaways when you first started watching it? Was it something where you're like, okay, I'm invested. I think I'm gonna like this movie, or was it like this is crazy. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the end of this movie.
It was definitely something I was invested in. It's ranked under my totally dude bro list because just like right off the bat, it is totally dude bro. That it's just these two detective guys and they're trying to like get to the bottom of this mystery. And I also think that it does a really good job of like playing with one storyline and then wrapping it around to the other. Which is something that I feel like can get dicey really quickly if it's not executed well.
Yeah.
And I think that Martin Scorsese did a really great job visualizing that.
Yeah, for sure. It starts off like very much buddy, like cop drama, maybe cop thriller. Um, so I totally see like the totally dude bro movie drop list there, but by the end, it's just like a complete psycho thriller, which is really, really cool. Was there a point when you're like, okay, I'm starting to piece together that there's going to be a twist in your first viewing, or was it like totally left field that Sir Ben Kingsley drops the bomb that Leo's actually a patient?
I think I wrote on my review, mouth open, hands on cheeks, because I feel like that's exactly what I was feeling almost the whole time. Like
Yeah.
everything kind of just like got me to the point where I was just like, what is going on? Like what, and it could have been that I was just like so sleep deprived and delusional when I was watching this. And I
Shout
was
out Flux.
yeah, shout out Flux. That I was just like extra delirious. But yeah, I think that there were a few things that Mark Ruffalo's character said, and I'm not gonna remember verbatim,
Yeah.
but I just like remember thinking that his character was a little suspicious. And at one point, I think I thought that he was gonna like betray
Yeah.
Leo's character in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the movie was like set that way of like we are sympathetic to Leo's character throughout the film, and everything seems like it's against him. And then with the reveal of it, like actually everything was being for him. But I will say with like Mark Ruffalo's character from the jump, the first time I remember the first time watching it and being like something off about this dude being a marshal because when they're getting off the boat and the guards are like, okay, you're on our island. We like police it. So you have to relinquish your weapons. And he was like struggling to get his out of the holster. Like that was the first clue for me of like, okay, this dude either isn't really a marshal or is like a really bad marshal. And then some of like the questioning and stuff throughout the film really starts to like have you questioning whether Ruffalo is a bad guy, or if Leo's a bad guy, or if the whole system's the bad guy, or if Ben Kingsley's the bad guy. Like the way that Scorsese like sets this whole movie in motion, literally from the opening scene all the way to the end, is like a masterpiece, and that's why he is Martin Scorsese for sure. Um, yeah, I was taken aback from watching it again and seeing like how many little notes there are throughout the movie. Kitten, he's a little ferocious right now. He also wants to go to Shutter Island. But there's so many like little notes throughout the film that you just like don't pick on when you're first watching it. I remember watching it this last week of the inmates will like look away or stare intensely at Leo's character throughout the film. And then there's one whose name I forget. They're interviewing Ruffalo and her, or Ruffalo and Leo are interviewing her, and they ask about Leo's inmate name, and she's like getting teary eyed, gets up to go get a glass of water. When Ruffalo walks away, she writes "run," and it's like in the moment the first time, oh, something's happening here. But really, it's like she has a relationship with him, having both lost partners to like violence of their own. So she's like emotionally invested in him. And you pick that up the next like time you watch it, having known the twist. And there's like so many moments of that in the movie that really like stick out to me. The ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th time that I watch it for sure. Um, you mentioned not really having anything like you can't pull direct quotes. We talked about Pitch Perfect last week, whereas like that's such a quotable movie. I can only really like visualize this movie. There's like scenes that I could set up, but there's not a lot of quotes. Are you the same way with Shutter Island?
Yeah, definitely. And I was thinking just now about how similar it feels to Saltburn because for me that's also such a visually aesthetic movie, but like I can't really quote it.
Yeah.
But at the same time I can see the plot so clearly. So I think that Shutter Island, I don't think that there's anything like major to quote. Like nothing too big is going on to where like the script isn't memorable. The script just like drives the plot. And I think that they do that in a great way. Like Pitch Perfect isn't necessarily like a plot heavy movie,
Yeah.
but like they have some kitschy little phrases that you can remember. Whereas Shutter Island, like the plot is encompasses like literally like beginning to end because of the things that like wrap around and the way that Scorsese shoots things. So the script isn't really like heavy.
Yeah, for sure. There's
That makes
definitely
sense.
yeah, absolutely. There's definitely movies where like the script is the memorable part, which is good for those movies, but Scorsese movies are almost always like visually driven, and the script doesn't get in the way of that. Like his writing, like his editing, his directing, like all of that plays into the movies, and they all play well together. The only thing that I can remember, and it's because I like recently watched it, like the line that will stick with me is "Why are you all wet, baby?" Where it's like comes up like three or four times in the movie, and it like leads to the realization that Leo killed his wife, shot his wife after she had drowned their kids in the lake behind their house because he ignored her mental health cries for help. And was like, "Oh, you're distressed. Like you don't want to live in the city anymore. We'll move to the country," which backfired because it was more isolated. Um, and that line like really starts to drive home. The first time you hear it, I think it's from uh Ben Kingsley. Then he has a vision of it, where she's in the apartment that like burnt down, and that's how like the how that inmate woman that they're searching for lost her husband. Yeah, and then the last is when he's having the realization, the breakthrough of like, oh no, she was like at the lake in the back of our house. So I think the Scorsese scripts are always done in a way where it feels organic and real, like an actual human conversation, which is harder said than done. And I think that's an like, under, like, how do I want to phrase it? Like, I guess appreciated would be like the best way to put it. But like when you're looking at Scorsese films, there's not a lot that goes into like appreciating of the dialogue and the way that the script is written and driven. And I think like that's one of his many talents for sure in shooting a film. Um, with the like realization at the end of the movie, jumping way forward because I'm fascinated. You watching with four people in your house for the first time, was there just like endless dialogue of like, I can't believe this is happening, or how did like the ending part of the movie play out with the four of you?
Well, I remember three of us sitting in silence and the poli sci major just like being like, hubba, hubba, but like, and we were like, okay, like we don't know how to process this. So I definitely, when there's movies like that, I just like have to sit in silence and take it in. There is
Yeah.
no other way. I did that with Saltburn. I did that with another movie I went and saw either in the spring or winter of this past year. Like fell over outside the theater because I was just like, what's going on? This girl was like, are you okay? And I was like, good luck, girl. Like, I hope you like it. But yeah, I think why that movie is so great to me is because I watched it with my friends and
Yeah.
because there were so many of us. I don't think I would have had the same reaction or like positive viewing experience if I was watching it by myself. Honestly, I probably would have turned it off because I would have been like, this is like, I don't know. But that's also why I loved Zodiac because the first time I watched that, I was in class and I was sitting right next to my best friend. And so we just got to like I think it makes it more entertaining when you're with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You
I
know, it's
know.
kind of like a movie theater experience, but
I was gonna say for me, like ever since I was little, going to the movies, it is very much like leaning into the person that I came with. Because very seldom do I go watch a movie by myself and like talking through what I'm seeing and like predicting stuff, which used to annoy my wife quite a bit. I think she's used to it now. But yeah, definitely like through movies like thrillers and stuff like that, leaning in and being like, I think this is what's going to happen next. Or, oh, did you see the connection with what happened like 20 minutes ago? Here it is. And I think that's what is great about like where we are in streaming services, where we can get movies that are out in the world to our houses way faster now. Because like as a married dude with a little kid, it's hard to go see like scary or thriller movies without like finding a babysitter and stuff. Whereas we can watch something like at midnight and like still have that experience on like a 42-inch TV, not quite a theater, but still having those conversations. That's the only way I've ever watched movies, which is not for everyone. I've never been the type of person to like go to the movies and then sit quietly until like the 2 hour, 3 hour mark of the movie, then get up and be like, okay, here's everything I was thinking. Like I have to like talk it out throughout a movie for sure. And I think thrillers are just like a great like medium for that. Where it's designed for you to be thinking throughout the entire movie and have you trying to come to conclusions because the goal is to like have you come to the wrong conclusion so then the right one catches you way off guard. You were in awe of the ending of the movie to jump all the way to that point. Did you take it as Leo accepting and going to get the lobotomy, or how did you like perceive the ending of the film?
I think I took it more so as like he was just so mentally and emotionally drained and didn't like genuinely had nothing left to live for.
Yeah,
It's like, okay,
heart wrenching.
yes, surrendering, but not in like a okay, like a cave kind of way.
Yeah,
Like genuinely, like there was no other option for him. And that sounds kind of sad to say, but like after all that he's been through, and then to also like I cannot imagine my children being murdered by the woman that I love
yeah,
and having to murder the woman that I love, being locked away and then being put through all of that to like break me into reality.
yeah.
Like, I don't know what I would do. Like, that's brutal.
Yeah, it was killer. And that was like the sentiment of the movie is like so you go to the movies for like heartwarming or like escapism, and it's like so grounded in reality that it's like difficult. It's so grounded in reality that they didn't even score music for it. So they actually only used music that was period correct, which is like crazy for blockbuster movies to do, especially in 2010. Um, yeah, the ending was so like gut wrenching. This dude that they are trying so hard to bring back to reality, it might have finally clicked, and for him to be like, yeah, I don't, what's the point of it clicking? Like, who cares if I'm in reality if like I've lost all this stuff? He's a World War II veteran. He like helped liberate concentration camps. It was like part of his like mental psyche. And then he, yeah, like you said, came home. His wife drowned their kids in the lake that he like bought this house to, like have for his family. He shoots her and then has like a mental break. And then Ben Kingsley's character, like the head of the Shutter Island Asylum, is gives the realization that they've done this multiple times and it's the last gasp try and bring him back to reality so that he can eventually have another life. And the end of the movie being like, again, I don't know the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of like, you live, would you want to live as a monster or die thinking you're a good person? It's like the last line that he says. Someone is like so emotionally like charged that it's crazy that that's the end of the movie of does he know, does he not know, like he's going to go surrender because he's lost everything, and then it's like, okay, back to your 9 to 5 life. It's like not a movie that is for the lighthearted by any means.
Yeah, which I think is why it helps to have other people there to talk about it with. Because if you watch it alone, you're just gonna be like, well, now I'm depressed and now I have to watch cartoons for 4 hours before I go to sleep. And just like, yeah, so having people there to talk through, I think any thriller is
Yeah,
always a great part of the experience. But yeah, this movie has a really heavy ending.
yeah, it's it's not for the faint-hearted by by any stretch. It is very much if you're paying attention to every single detail, it's like it's gut wrenching. And the end of the movie, you're like, oh wow, like I just sat through 2+ hours of this dude's sad life, and it ends really sad. Like there's no uplifting moment throughout any of the film. So it is not one that is just like, I'm gonna throw this on while I'm sewing or like reading a book and it'll be on in the background. It's definitely a movie that you have to be invested in. And yeah, I would agree. Like I wouldn't sit down and just watch Shutter Island on like a Tuesday by myself, just because of what it is, and it's definitely not a Scooby-Doo type thriller by any stretch of the imagination. I did some like minimal research just to grab the year because I didn't remember what year it came out. And I found out like 2 days ago, Shutter Island was an anagram, just like Leo's character name and the woman he's searching for's names are anagrams of his name and his wife's name. Um, Shutter Island is truths and lies or truths and denials, which is like so fitting for what the movie is. And I'm really glad I didn't know that before seeing it the first time, where like that that is one of the movies that I think of when people think of like what's a movie with like a really great twist. I although I like started to piece it together before like the third act started, it still was one that like I put up there with the top of movie twists. Um, how about you? Do you like movies that have crazy twists like that, or are you more of a fan of like traditional thrillers that don't have so much like psychological messing around in the background?
No, I love a twist. I think it's really hard to do. I just saw Longlegs, which isn't a thriller, it was a horror mystery. I was not mystified at all. And I'll save my thoughts for another time.
When did
But
that
yeah,
come out?
I don't
Long Legs.
recently.
Oh, really? I've never heard of it.
I just saw it in theaters maybe 2 days ago with my
Oh,
mom, and I was like, we could not agree on a movie, and I was like, we have to go. Like everybody says it's so scary.
no.
No, everyone said it was unsettling. If you want unsettling, go watch Midsummer.
Yeah.
That will put you like any Ari Aster movie will make you feel sick to your stomach. But if that's what you're looking for, go and do that. I was ready to feel like I was gonna throw up, and I left feeling completely normal, just like
Yeah.
this. So,
What's a
yeah,
movie that has like a really good twist that you liked? Is this one of the ones you'd put up on that list?
yeah, definitely. And then again, like Saltburn, one of my friends saw it coming. I did not.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Saltburn's really good. I wouldn't say Zodiac necessarily does just because it happened and everybody
Yeah.
knows it happened,
Yeah.
but it thrills you for sure.
Yeah.
And then maybe To All the President's Men. If
Okay.
you haven't seen it and you don't know the true story,
Yeah.
then maybe I could see where you'd be like taken by surprise.
Yeah. I could see that one for sure. I think like the one that always goes to people's mainstream minds is M. Night Shyamalan's like films, but um, I've
Yeah.
never been like that thrown off by one of his movies. I think the one that left me the most like, what just happened was The Happening. Is that the one with like the wind and people are like going crazy and stuff? Um, that's the one that I was like, because there's still like no solid resolution at the end of the movie. It just like things stop happening. Um, but yeah, there's some twist. I think this is like the epitome for me of like movie twists when I think of thrillers and big surprises at the end of the movie, that most the audience probably wouldn't have seen coming.
Yeah.
Um, let's throw out our Eminem and Eminem rating for the film. What would you like, 1 to 5? Where would you throw this?
I'd give it like a 3.5 or a 4. I think that some of the shots are very reminiscent of like 2010. And you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the twist did get me, so yeah, like a 3.5, 4.
Yeah, I think I'm in that same boat of like 3.5, 4. It's a really good movie.
Five.
I would say a 4 more so for me, just because I think the writing is so well done. The acting is amazing from like even a security guard that's only on screen for like 2 minutes. Like everyone's role is so well done. Um, the pieces throughout the film look amazing. There are some like this is very much 2010 cinema, but for the most part, it still holds up pretty well. And just like the little hints throughout the movie, like breadcrumbs to give you from like I said, Ruffalo like struggling to get his gun out, or like the fact that Leo's clothes, he's the only character that all his clothes are baggy because they just like grabbed a suit for him for this charade to be like, okay, like you're a cop, now you're dressed like a cop. But he never has cigarettes because he's not allowed to have his own. He never has a lighter. He never has a weapon that's real. He has like a toy one at the end that he grabs and breaks. I think like all of the pieces stack up to me as like a really, really, really solid movie. It's not a masterpiece in my mind, because there are some things that I would like see differently, but it is like such a solid, solid film. Um, Final thoughts on Shutter Island?
I'm looking at my notes from it.
Me too.
Oh, a quote that I did write down. If you ever loved me, Dolores, please stop talking. I just thought that was a great line. And again, like the whole cast, Emily Mortimer, fantastic job.
Yeah,
So I'm a big Mark Ruffalo fan. I think he's underrated.
he killed it. Like I already said it multiple times. I think everyone did an amazing job. Ruffalo and Leo's like chemistry together, amazing. Leo and Michelle Williams, like brief, like super brief chemistry. They look like a married couple.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything is so well done. That movie's so good. And like Sir Ben Kingsley, one of my favorite actors ever. Um, yeah, the movie's just like fantastic. I agree with all of your thoughts. Should we spin to see what we watch next?
Yes.
I forgot to ask you because this is a movie from your side, so I just threw on. Um, I did it last week. What did I put on? I did. Oh, Romeo and Juliet. Another Leo one. 96, I think, is when that came out. Uh, uh, spin, 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 spin. Hey, there it goes. Oh, we got
Oh,
it.
let's
That's
go.
nice, convenient. Um, I put this on because Leo. And it's a movie that it's Romeo and Juliet to me. So like as an old white dude, millennial, like this was Romeo and Juliet when I was in God, high school and beyond. So it just reminded me when I was watching Shutter Island, how much I like this movie. So I was like, oh, I should throw that on there. Have you ever seen Romeo and Juliet 1996 version? Yeah.
I think I've seen every adaptation of Romeo and Juliet, including
Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and
Heck
Juliet, which is
yeah.
one of the best.
Hmm.
This one is actually my least favorite adaptation.
I can't wait to hear why. Um,
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to watch it again because I'll be honest, I probably haven't seen it since I was in high school. So like early 2003, 2004, probably. And I remember distinctly having like English classes the eighth grade year and then English classes in freshman year. And both times we watched this version of Romeo, but edited, obviously for school. Um, so yeah, I'm curious to go back to see if it still like has that nostalgia for me, or if I will be like, this movie isn't nearly as good as I used to think it was. So yeah, can't wait to chat about that. One parting thing that I thought about by naming the podcast M&M, it means if you ever get married, Ainsley, you got to keep the M. So just keep that in mind as you're looking for partners down the line. Either going to be hyphenated or find someone with an M last name, and then we're still good. So
Well, that was the plan. So you're all set. I'm
perfect.
I'm not breaking up the pod.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. All right. It was a blast chatting with you as always. Also like diving into this movie and watching it again. I'll grab a movie from you to throw onto the list, and then yeah, we'll see each other again next week. Thank you all so much for listening, and or watching and listening. And if there's a movie you want us to throw on the list, drop it into the comments. If I don't see any comments, I'll probably cry. So just keep that in mind. If you got this far in the video or podcast. Thanks again, Ainsley. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.